What's up, Fuel Up friends? Welcome back to another week of the weekly Fuel Up. If you are new here, thank you so much for being here. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. And if you've been here for a while, you know I appreciate you so much and being so dedicated to me. I do not deserve you, but I appreciate you so very much. So this week on the weekly Fuel Up recipe, we are working with a recipe that I actually spoiled over on Instagram. Tuesday or so, I think it was, and we're gonna do that recipe. So it's chicken burgers, and one thing I didn't tell you is we're doing the chicken burgers, of course, but we are also gonna make a homemade pecan honey mustard. It's gonna be delicious for the burgers. And then I've got some sweet potatoes that we're gonna slice up and we're gonna throw into the oven to make some sweet potato wedges, sweet potato fries, baked fries, whatever you wanna call them. So let me show you our ingredients really quick and then we're gonna get started. All right, so here's what we're working with. I've got 1 pound of the green, or not green, oh my goodness, I don't even know why I said green, all natural and lean ground chicken. You can get this at any grocery store. I've got some baby spinach and arugula, but if you don't like arugula or spinach, you can use either or, it doesn't really matter. I've also got feta cheese. Trent likes feta and not goat cheese, and I prefer goat cheese over feta, so I got both. So you're gonna see me do one of each, so those are yummy. I've got some pecans here that we're gonna use for the pecan honey mustard, and for that I've already got some made that we used earlier this week, so I'm just gonna make some more, put it in the same mason jar. So make sure you have a container with a lid that you can actually store this in the fridge. So we're gonna use some ground cloves, cinnamon, raw honey or agave, either one works, some regular yellow mustard, and some apple cider vinegar with the mother. So grab some of that. And then I've got 2 medium-sized sweet potatoes. Those are gonna be for the sweet potato wedges, and we're gonna put those with a little bit of avocado oil. Y'all know I love that. And then the only other thing I'm working with is either you can put it on top of some more of this or some mixed greens instead of doing a bun, or I got some of these sandwich thins. So they're whole wheat, they're smaller than a full bun, so it's not gonna be super heavy. So choose what you will, but this is all the ingredients we're working with, and we're gonna start first with our sweet potatoes. All right, so now that I have both of these sweet potatoes washed, this one looks a little funky, but it's fine. It just clearly grew the weirdest. I thought this was ruined and I thought, oh my gosh, what is that? But it's just, honestly, it's fine. It just grew a little funky. So the first thing I'm gonna do, wash the sweet potatoes really well. Make sure you get as much dirt off as you can. And then I'm just gonna take a large knife, cut off both ends, throw those to the side. And then I'm gonna cut fairly large chunks. You see kind of how big that is. So fairly large chunks to start. That way I'm not worried about cutting really small pieces to start off with. And then I'm gonna go back, kind of set some of these to the side, and then I'm gonna go back and slice them yet again. So each of these slices, because this is a large sweet potato, is gonna come out kind of thick, and I don't want them to stay that thick, so I'm gonna cut them again in half. And you can make these longer sweet potatoes if you wanted to and make them like really long fries, but I'm gonna make them kind of stubby, but it's my own personal preference. You use what works best for you. We're gonna do this with both sweet potatoes, and then we're gonna come back and pop them in the oven. So it's gonna seem super fast for you. So let's speed it up. Done. We just tossed them on top. I'm gonna throw this in my little trash bowl. I like to keep these close by. And I'm just gonna shake it out just to spread them all out as even as I possibly can. That one needs to be cut a little bit more. But I'm gonna put them down as flat as I possibly can, which this is a little bit of a smaller cookie sheet and I should have gone a little bit bigger, but that's okay. And I'm gonna take a little more of this avocado oil, drizzle it right on top. So it's about 2 tablespoons. One that I coated the bottom with, one that I drizzled on top. And before I move them around anymore, I'm gonna add a little bit of ground salt. So this is sea salt. And this is actually the one I've used for a while. It's coconut lime sea salt. We found this at Fresh Market. If you can find this, Definitely recommend it. Just gives a little extra something with your spices. And then I'm gonna do some ground black peppercorn as well. Nothing more fancy than that. We're gonna have plenty of flavors in our burgers. We don't need it in the sweet potatoes. So now I'm just gonna take my hands and just kind of rub them down a little bit. Maybe even toss them up. You can use tongs if you want to, but I feel like using your hands in the kitchen for lots of things just makes your food taste better. So now that we've got everybody on the pan, spread out as even as we can, we're gonna pop these into the oven at about 400 to around 410 degrees, depending on your oven. And we're gonna just let them roast and let them get to the roast of the consistency that you like. I like ours, or we like ours, a little more crispy, a little more brown. So I'll let you know the exact time. But just pop them in the oven and watch them and take them out when they are ready. So we're gonna start working on our burgers. I'm gonna use 2 mixing bowls here, 2 separate ones, because remember I'm gonna do goat cheese for 1 burger. I think these are gonna make 4 burgers. So goat cheese for some, feta cheese for others. This is a reduced fat feta cheese crumbles. So all of this actually came from Aldi. Surprise, surprise, y'all know I love that store, so I use it a lot. And then of course we've got our baby spinach and arugula, as well as the lean ground chicken. So I'm just gonna open up this lean ground chicken, and we're gonna take half of it, and put it in one bowl, half of it and put it in the other bowl, and then throw this half away because we don't need it. And one thing I want you to make sure that you do is anytime you are touching raw chicken, whether it's ground, whether it's chicken tenders, patties, whatever, wash your hands before you handle anything else, because raw chicken will make you sick, so make sure you do that. So now that we have that split up, we're gonna go ahead, move it to the side for a moment before I touch anything else, and I'm going to wash my hands, and then we're gonna grab our cutting board and start working on a little bit of the arugula and spinach, as well as the feta cheese. So pause, let's wash our hands. And one thing I forgot to add, I completely forgot, and now that I'm mixing this up, I realized that I forgot. So you need something that the chicken's gonna hold on to. It's kind of like ground turkey. If you're making it into patties, it doesn't stick together very well, and it's really like extra gooey, like where beef just holds things together. So add a little bit of whole oatmeal flakes to your chicken burgers. Not like so much you're gonna taste oatmeal, just like 1/4 cup per bowl, per about half a pound of your ground turkey or ground chicken. Same situation for either one. So I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup per bowl here, so it would be a 1/2 cup for 1 pound of ground chicken. So let's do that, then we'll make our patties. Sorry about that. Pattied up. We've made them into patties, let's put it that way. So these 3 on this side are the ones with the goat cheese. These 2 are with just the feta cheese. So I'm gonna add a little bit of avocado oil to this skillet. I've got it on medium-low heat. Just a little bit more of the same avocado. Just a little drizzle into the pan. And I'm gonna swirl this around. You could use a spatula if you wanted to. I just found that this is so much easier to do, so I'm gonna make sure that it's a little bit low, and then I'm gently, be careful because they will fall apart on you. So I'm gently gonna lay them right down into the skillet. Because if you just toss them, which is another reason why you wanna make sure that your heat in your skillet is on medium-low and a little more leaning to the low side, because if it's too high, it'll jump out, it'll burn you. So you wanna make sure that you can get your hand down in there without touching the skillet. Lay your patty down and everything will be good to go. So now that I've got them down in there like that, I'm just gonna take a spatula and gently push down just a little bit, just to flatten them out a little bit more, especially these two larger ones. Go all the way around. Perfect. So we're gonna leave these be. We're gonna let them cook for about 3 to 4 minutes on this side, and then we'll flip them. But in the meantime, we're gonna start on our pecan honey mustard. Okie dokie, it is time to start our pecan honey mustard. One thing that you do need, or two things you could need. So either a coffee grinder, just a small household coffee grinder, or a food processor. I have both, but I just really prefer for something small like this not to mess up the full processor, because it's a little bit extra to clean, and you know, on weeknights we don't really want to do that. So I'm going to use this little coffee grinder instead. Also need a little mason jar or some sort of Tupperware or something that has a lid on top so that you can store this in the fridge, because I promise you, you're gonna wanna keep this and use it for later. So the first step we need, make sure we have all of our ingredients here. First step is we are gonna take some pecans, and these are pecan halves, but you can use pecan wholes, you can use halves, you can use chopped, it really doesn't matter, you just need some pecans. So I'm gonna use about 1/4 of a cup, and if you know me, you know I really don't measure anything. So do your thing, do what you think is best. Use about 1/4 of a cup, add these in, and we're gonna chop these up. And I'm gonna do this in pulses. So I'm gonna chop it up, and then I want it to be very fine. So if you can find pecan flour, that will work as well. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. We're just making pecan flour. Now I will say, I want this to be a little more chunky than pecan flour. So some of these pieces, I want them to stay nice and chunky. All right, just like that. Now we're gonna pause making our pecan honey mustard. We're gonna flip our burgers. They're doing pretty good, so I'm gonna turn the heat up to about medium high heat at this point. Perfect, I'm flinging stuff everywhere, but it is what it is. There we go. Flip these two. And I'm gonna press them down too as I go, just to make sure they're really getting in there. All right, you can hear the heat go up a little bit. So we're gonna let these continue to cook. Let's get back to our pecan honey mustard. All right, so now that we've got our flour done really well, I'm gonna be very careful using a spoon. Very, very careful, and I'm gonna add this to my mason jar. Now keep in mind, I've already had some made, so that's what's in here. I'm not mixing this with anything else. This is the same stuff I've been working with. So I'm just making more, because honestly, we love this stuff. And I found it a while back. If you don't wanna make this, you don't have to. They also sell something very similar at Fresh Market, but I thought, you know what? If I have the ingredients at home, I just prefer to make my own stuff versus purchasing it, especially if it's gonna be healthier, better for me, and I know what goes into it, I know how it was made. So if you're like me, it takes nothing to make this at home, but you can buy this in the store if you need to. Fresh Market does carry something very, very similar, and I believe Publix carries it as well. I don't remember the brand, but I will link it below if you just prefer to buy it. All right, so now that we have our pecan flour, a little bit of chunky in there, I'm gonna add about 1/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, about a 1/2 of a teaspoon, or excuse me, about 1/4 of a teaspoon as well, actually. Maybe even 1/8 of ground cloves. Then we're gonna add around 2 tablespoons of honey or raw agave, about a teaspoon of this mustard, yellow mustard. Leaning a little more towards a tablespoon, but who's counting? Now I'm just gonna mix this around just a little bit so I can get it down in there. And then our yummy apple cider vinegar, I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of that. This is not gonna make it taste like apple cider vinegar, but any good dressing or marinade or dip that is, you know, something that you keep in the fridge is always gonna have a little bit of vinegar of some sort in it. So we're gonna mix it around, give it a taste, and make sure it tastes good, because that's important. So let's see, let's make sure. So good, that's perfect. That is perfect. You get that, not like, you really don't taste the cinnamon. The cinnamon adds to the flavor, but you don't taste the cinnamon. But after you take a bite and it goes down, you get that slight little hint of the cloves, and I mean just slightly. It's so good, but it makes a good amount, so you can use this for later. I'm gonna set that to the side. We're gonna finish up our burgers. We gotta check our sweet potato fries, and we are almost done with this dinner. Super simple, right? Our burgers are looking awesome. Over here, we're gonna check our sweet potatoes. They're looking good too. I need a little more color. If you like them like that, that's great, but I need a little more color, so I'm gonna let them continue to go. And I currently have them on 415, and I think I'm gonna bump it up to 425, just because my oven just needs a little extra love sometimes, especially with sweet potatoes. So don't do that. Start with around 400 to 410. See how your oven reacts if you've never baked sweet potato fries before. And if you feel like you need to take it up a little bit at a time. All right, so let's finish up these burgers. I know y'all don't see him very often, but I wanted to show you. This is my hubby Trent.
Howdy.
Also, I wanted to brag on him for a minute because he has a small shop.
Oh.
He has an Etsy shop. I know this is not Fuel Up related, but we are Fuel Up as a team, so it's part of us as well, and I'm very proud of him for it. So 2412 Creations is his Etsy shop. He is a woodworker and craftsman, so go check out his shop.
I don't know whether to look here or here.
You know what? It doesn't really matter where you look. I think he likes looking at himself.
Better making stuff, not video.
So I do the dinner creations, you do the wood creations. So.
Yep.
Anyway, go check it out. Let's finish our dinner.
Yep.
Our burgers, if you do not have a meat thermometer, you need to make sure that you purchase one. You can get these literally anywhere. Amazon, Walmart, I think Publix even carries these. Like, just get you one. They're worth it, especially when you're cooking chicken. So we're gonna turn it on, make sure that it is ready to go. All right, and I always have to grab some kitchen tongs, or getters, that's what I call them, getters. And I kind of grab it this way and then stick it right in. This is an instant read, so it'll tell me immediately if they're done or not. We want it to be 165. That one is there. Cool, let's check this one. That one's there. Perfect. Kind of got to be careful with these because you don't want them to fall apart. Awesome, that one's there too. So these do not take long, like literally no time at all. These might have taken 10 minutes to cook completely. We're right at 165 for all of these, which means they are done. So I'm going to go ahead, turn the heat off, remove the skillet from the heat, and we're gonna take them, put them on a plate, and we're gonna get ready to assemble these burgers because our sweet potato fries are ready to come out of the oven. So let's go. All right, let's take these sweet potatoes out. Oh my goodness, hot, hot, hot. So they look pretty good. They're not quite as crispy as I want them to be, but they're pretty much there. So I'm just gonna leave them out here on the top of the stove, and they'll continue to cook until we're ready to eat them. So I'll turn the stove off, and now it is time to assemble our burgers. But before I do that, I'm gonna actually take these out, and I left the skillet over here on medium-high heat. Excuse me, I tasted the burgers, so now I'm like coughing them up. I'm gonna take these little patties here, And I'm going to open them up. This might be hard with one hand. Hang on. Let's try it with two hands, shall we? All right, so I'm gonna open them up so I don't pull it apart and don't break it. And I'm just gonna lay them down right inside. And I just wanna warm them up just a little bit on the outside. And go ahead and grab a plate. Actually, let's grab a bigger plate here. And we're gonna add everything in together. Perfect. So I just want them to get slightly browned and just get warm so that everything kind of works together. And what I'm thinking is I'm gonna do the burger patty, of course, the pecan honey mustard. We've got some spring mix salad, or you could use the spinach and arugula, but because we've already used that, that's what I'm gonna do. Or you could make this into like a ground chicken patty salad if you wanted to. Totally up to you. I mean, this is your dinner. I'm just showing you something new that you can do. All right, so we're gonna turn that off, remove it from the heat, put it on this plate, and let's assemble. So take it over here, sit y'all down, so hopefully you can see. Let me turn you down just a little bit, just like that, so you can see a little bit better. All right. So here is what I have right here so far. We've got our ground pecan honey mustard. So I'm gonna add it onto the bottom instead of onto the top first. Just like that. We're gonna add a patty, a chicken patty, right there on top. Yummy. Then we have our spinach and arugula. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this pecan honey mustard onto the top half. Ooh, there's a pecan chunk on this one. All right, what did I do with it? Oh my gosh, it's right there in front of me. I'm gonna add a little bit of this onto that. Now I do have some diced tomatoes or grape tomatoes that I could dice or slice and put those on top, but I'm not gonna do that on mine just because I have decided I don't want those on mine tonight. So add a little bit of that. You can add the top right on. We're gonna add some sweet potatoes with this, so let's grab those. And there you have it. A delicious chicken burger recipe. It may not look super fancy. We also like these burnt. They're not burnt, but we like them this way. It may look burnt to you, but they look perfect to me. But I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following along. Thank you for supporting us and supporting me. I appreciate you more than you know. But I have more recipes on the way. More things coming for next week, and I want to share something a little bit more on the personal side next week with y'all, and don't let that really scare you, because it's going to be more on gut health and a little bit about my journey with gut health that kind of sent me sailing in a really strange direction, and now it's brought me back to the place that I'm at now that's healthier. My gut is healthier, and I want to share some tips and tricks with you that have helped me with that. So stay tuned for that for next week. If you're not subscribed to the Weekly Fuel Up, head over to our website, www.fuelupwellness.com, and it will pop up. You can put your little email address right in there. We're not going to send you any crazy things. We're just going to send you our weekly newsletter every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, or excuse me, yes, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I hope you have a wonderful week. Have a blessed week. Smile a lot. Go out. Have an absolute amazing week. Make somebody's day, and I hope you reach all of your goals this week. Have a great, fantastic week. I love y'all, and I will see you next week.